In the back of the book segment tonight, firefighters are now reporting some progress in the battle against the giant wildfire north of Los Angeles. And while investigators are trying to figure out exactly what set off the blaze, California Congresswoman Linda Sanchez is blaming global warming for making matters worse.
A big contributing factor to that is the fact that we're in drought condition. We aren't receiving the amount of rainfall that we should, or quite frankly, that in years past we did. And I think that also is a signal that our weather patterns are changing. And I think that is further evidence that global warming and the need to do something about it is going to affect us sooner rather than later. And I can't think of a better example than the fact that we've had now these habitual wildfires just about every year.
We called the Congresswoman's office, by the way, to invite her on the program, and she declined. But joining us now from Lubbock, Texas, is Katharine Hayhoe. She's a climate change researcher at Texas Tech University. And Katharine, just your take first on what the Congresswoman claimed about these wildfires.
Well, Laura, as we discuss in our book, A Climate for Change, it's impossible to attribute any one event, or even a series of events, to climate change. We all know this instinctively, I think. When we look at climate, we have to look at what's been happening over timescales of decades. And when we do, this is what we see. We see that it has warmed about 1.5 degrees over the west. That doesn't sound like a lot. But that warming, which means warmer springs and longer, drier summers, just like California is seeing right now, that warming has driven a dramatic increase in the number of large wildfires that we see, in the area that those wildfires are burning, and also in the length of the fire season. It's now about 2.5 months longer than it used to be a couple of decades ago. So
you are then connecting global warming to these wildfires, creating the conditions for which these wildfires can go out of control. Is that correct?
That is exactly right.
Okay, now I just want to
on it.
Okay, I got you. I just want to go through some of these things. In 2008, the number of wildfires, there are 78,979 wildfires. In 1960, there were 100,387 wildfires, 103,000 to be exact. 1968, there's 125,000. Back in 1908, there were 300 fires in New York State alone, and 3,500,000 acres burned. So I would say that even liberal scientists at this point, Katharine, like Tyson Slocum, said, look, this is silly. It's sloppy to link natural disasters to climate change. He said that it can have negative consequences, climate change, but in the long term. But Sanchez is not correct in her statement. And you saw John Kerry try to link, natural disasters with global warming, people linking Hurricane Katrina with global warming. I just think this ends up, making people think the environmental movement is just off its rocker.
I completely agree with you, Laura. This issue is not an issue about liberals and conservatives, and it should not be an issue about Republicans or Democrats. It's an issue about long-term data, about thermometers, about temperatures, about what's been happening to our world since the
What's been happening in the last 10 or 15 years with temperatures, Katharine?
What we've seen is that temperatures on a climate timescale have continued to increase.
They've been cooling now. The Earth has been cooling.
At a faster rate.
Right. All right. Well, we're out of time, unfortunately, but we appreciate it.